So wrestling is wrestling. There's a stupid way to start the video, but by its nature, it's a lie. That's the whole point. It does mean WWE can basically write their own narratives as and when they want to, so let's go through some of these today. It's fun! Who doesn't like to lie? Just ask Cody Rhodes and Bryan Danielson. Number 10, the attendance figures. So for years, WWE has inflated its attendance figures. They're not alone, as all promotions have done this, but if you can increase the number by 10%, do it. It's not actually going to affect anything. This did lead to a big hoo-ha about the WrestleMania 3 crowd size, because for years WWE had claimed it as 93,173. It was a record and an amazing feat, almost 100,000 people watching the grappling. Then one day, the Wrestling Observer's Dave Meltzer said he had spoken to former WWE bigwig Zane Bredslov, who said actually the figure was closer to 78,000. Cue meltdown. Now you can debate this forever, as there's no real evidence either way, but there is due cause. In later years, when the WWE went public, they had to announce proper numbers to the board, and yep, a lot of WrestleMania attendances were not what was revealed on the night. As I am a well-adjusted human, I couldn't care less, because it is just a bunch of people in a building. But you can take that information and do whatever you want. Number 9, Randy Savage's departure. All things considered, this is super sad now. After WCW had gone, we should have brought back the Macho Man to the WWE. He did not. It all goes back to when Randy Savage first left the WWF, because it was not a happy exit. The short version is Macho had wanted to keep wrestling, but as he dared to go over the age of 40, Vince McMahon told him, nope, you're a commentator now. How stupid is that? It meant when World Championship Wrestling called him up and said they'd love for him to continue fighting, Savage jumped at the opportunity because that's what he wanted. It became so messy as McMahon then announced on air this was down to not being able to negotiate a new deal, and maybe, just maybe, Randy wanted too much money. This was deliberately murky. It got worse because, as we would see, the relationship would sour so badly they never got back together. He wasn't even inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame until he passed away in 2011. None of this was right. We did it totally the wrong way round. Number 8, Hogan versus Andre. So this is all nonsense from the mouth of Hulk Hogan. He just makes things up. For example, he said that Andre the Giant was a legitimate 7'4", even though many people have stated the man was more like 6'11", so he's still totally massive. Hogan also talked about the 93,000 fans, although we've done that one, but he also mentioned that nobody had ever slammed the Giant before. Nope, it happened more than you think, and yes, there's footage. Hulk then decided to say that Andre had never been beaten, which can also be disproved after one Google search, and we could go on and on and on. Hogan even promised he didn't know what the finish was going to be. He just went into the ring and hoped the Giant didn't kill him. I get the beauty of a good story too, but this was too much, plus Hulk has exaggerated so much during his career, you can't trust any of it. He once said he wrestled over 400 times in one calendar year. Go and do the maths. It sucks because this is a classic for many reasons, and the truth is just as good as any story. Know of any other lies in wrestling, which is going to go on forever? You can drop us a comment in the comments below before you like the video, share the video, and please do subscribe. Number 7, the Undertaker Streak. Let us not pretend otherwise. The Undertaker's Mania Streak was one of the best things WWE ever did. It meant you basically got 2 main events at the show of shows. It ruled. As soon as the company had caught onto this, though, they really pushed it, as they should have done, but it did mean a lot of the facts got a little bit murky. For example, we were often told that the Dead Man had vanquished 21 foes at Mania, and sure, that's true, apart from the fact that many of these were repeats. Triple H fought him 3 times, and Shawn Michaels did this twice, so now the number is 19. The one we need to talk about the most is the Giant Gonzalez. Now, never ever watched this, even Taker knows it wasn't great, but while the Dead Man won sort of, it was by disqualification, and chloroform was involved. Now, I get why you can't mention this on TV, because you can't have caveats, but it is not as smooth as it is made out, and really in hindsight, we got this one totally wrong. Number 6, the retirements. Nobody ever believes that a pro wrestler is gonna retire. Even John Cena had to clarify this. When he is done, he is done. Is he though? Because you can never say never, it doesn't exist. It meant the idea of walking away has become a gimmick because Ric Flair, Chris Jericho, Mick Foley, and Cena within the story have all left and then returned. I mean, Randy Savage had a retirement match with the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania and still found a way to come back, don't worry about it. You then get teases like what Mark Henry did, so it has become the ultimate lie now. That's fine because with the world's strongest man, he smashed it, but the overall takeaway is retiring equals an utter nonsense. I mean, Terry Funk didn't help with that either, just go do a quick Google. It is kind of funny. But you never want a retirement to feel like some kind of a stipulation because it takes away from everything. And as I am talking to you, Bryan Danielson is about to do this over in AEW, and he kind of feels like a guy that will stick to this, but he also said that he never wants to stop wrestling ever and would like to do it when he is 71, so the whole thing is just nuts. Number 5, the McMahons give authority to the fans. What the hell was this? It's been half a decade and I still don't get it. Talk about just having some lip service. It was December 2018 when Vince, Shane, Stephanie and Triple H walked to the ring on Raw though and said they were sorry. It was time to start listening to the fans. Great. And then what changed? Nothing. Literally. Now, the rumor has always been that WWE thought Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks were coming to the company, which would have set the promotion on fire, but we know what happened there. Quite literally, the direct opposite. It still doesn't mean WWE could just act like we hadn't heard that speech, but the powers that be actually acted like we did. We had just conjured it up in our brains. What a crazy time this was, because while it did excite us all at the time, in retrospect, it would have been better if they had said nothing at all. Number 4, Sting finally signs. Let's not forget this didn't happen until 2014. It's ridiculous. WWE should have driven the dump truck up to Steve Borden's house. That man is a legend. Instead, Sting felt like he couldn't trust Vince McMahon to book him correctly, and boy was that true. Just watched WrestleMania 31, the Icon lost, and that was stupid. Now the lie comes when the Stinger did arrive at the Survivor Series, because WWE pretended he had been in the wilderness for a decade. That's right, TNA never existed and Sting had been, I don't know, working on his face paint. And I get you can't mention Arrival 2, but it was so in your nose, you couldn't ignore it. There is more to this too, because of course during that Triple H match, we also pretended that Sting had been friends with the NWO. That still annoys me, I can feel it in my skin. The story was literally the direct opposite. This one was ridiculous. It is why I'm grateful for AEW, because Mr. Borden deserved a proper exit, and boy howdy did he get one. I really don't think WWE was ever gonna do it. Number 3, once in a lifetime. So I do believe there is a story behind this. I didn't know. Because I always thought it was ridiculous The Rock versus John Cena was pitched as once in a lifetime. I mean, it did make sense. It was a dream match. They let people know it's going to be even more special. It really worked for WrestleMania 28, especially as the promos beforehand went off. And then we did it again at WrestleMania 29, so that's twice in a lifetime. I can do maths. The thing is, the word on the street has always been the original plan was for Brock Lesnar to confront The Rock on the following night's Raw, but given that Dwayne Johnson got injured on the Sunday evening, everything changed. By the time it was the sit-down to plan for the future, for whatever reason, we ignored the first tagline, we marched forward, and we got Cena Rock too. So I do understand how the word of the grappling does work, but a lie is a lie, and this was a lie. I mean, say it with me, you can't spin it. It was not once in a lifetime. Number 2, the Montreal Screwjob. I mean, it's the ultimate lie. Vince McMahon lied right to Bret Hart's face. It's also now one of the most infamous stories in wrestling history, because despite wrestling being a work, we worked the work and worked the hitman. What? The short version is McMahon claimed he was worried about Hart turning up on WCW with the World Wrestling Federation title, even though Bret had 6 weeks left on his WWF deal before he headed to the competition. The decision was made, however, with Shawn Michaels applying the sharpshooter and referee Earl Hebner calling for the bell, even though Hart had been told that ending was going to be a no contest. Survivor Series 1997 was just bonkers. We would never do this today, as championships and the business in general is just not the same, but even still, we shouldn't have done it back then either. Let Bret be the guy to do something wrong, even though he wouldn't have. Have you talked to that guy? He is not that kind of a dude. Number 1, getting the F out. So this stunned me so much I watched the clip 3 times. That's right, I am a little bit weird. But I was certainly a wrestling fan when the WWF became the WWE, and everybody knew the deal. The World Wrestling Federation had broken the agreement with the World Wildlife Fund one too many times, so the pandas were going to get the law to do their bidding. You can read about this, they were well within their rights. If you go and tune in to the Ruthless Aggression documentary on the network though, we get told that Vince McMahon made this decision because the company needed a refresh. What the flub? We even go as far as to say it was to signal the end of the Attitude Era, and I can tell you, my friends, that is not the case at all. In fact, people internally were worried at first. what if the fans don't like it? Now, kudos to the marketing team who came up with a great plan to sell it, but yeah, do not be fooled by this one. It was the animals that won the war, meaning they did even better than WCW. And don't you come get in my face. You can't argue with the facts.